I was his manager for 10 years. He chose a divorced single mom over me. I spent 10 years managing Derek Lawson's career from nobody to Oscar winner. Yet he'd rather marry a divorced single mother than keep his promise to marry me. His assistant couldn't hide her outrage. But Sophia, you're his manager. You built his entire career from nothing. Didn't he always say he'd only marry you? Why is he marrying someone else? Derek swirled his wine, scrolling through wedding rings on his tablet, utterly unbothered. Sophia Chen? That tomboy only got where she is in Hollywood by sleeping around. How could someone that dirty compare to my fiancé? But Sophia has all the connections. Aren't you worried she'll expose your secrets and destroy you? Derek's eyes flickered with uncertainty before hardening again. I'm at the top of Hollywood's food chain. She's just a manager. What could she possibly do to me? What he didn't know was that I'd heard every word from outside his door. After declining all the luxury brand endorsements I'd lined up for him, I texted his rival, Ethan Cross. Want Derek's dirt and his contracts? I'll sell everything for $1. Chapter 1. I just finished printing the termination agreement when Derek found me. Flight UA 1652 tonight. Pick someone up personally. And clear out your spare room, a friend needs to crash for a few days. His voice was cold, commanding me with practiced ease. But all I felt was a chill in my heart. Making me pick up Julia himself so I wouldn't get suspicious. Even if I wanted to doubt, he could just say, if we had something going on, why would I send you to get her? He'd thought of everything. Clear out my room? Julia must be playing games already. I nodded absently. Seeing my blank expression, Derek frowned in displeasure. What? You have a problem with this? We're at an international film festival. We need to be extra careful. I'm keeping my distance to avoid paparazzi. If our relationship gets exposed, all the work you've done building my bachelor image goes down the drain. I just broke into the international scene. Your priority should be securing more opportunities for me. Derek only ever talked about work with me. I used to think it was our shared ambition building careers and love together. Now I just felt pathetic. I slipped the termination papers between other contracts for him to sign, keeping my voice level. No problem. I'm just the manager. I know my place. Catching the edge in my tone, Derek's face darkened. He signed everything hastily and threw down the pen. What's with the attitude, Sophia? Can't handle a simple request? You make money off me. Should I stop filming just to kiss your ass? He slapped the folder against my chest. Next time, bring fewer papers. My hands cramping. I ignored him, organizing the documents as I left. Looking at his signature on the termination agreement, I felt nothing but relief. I'd spent 10 years with Derek Lawson. His manager who crafted his image. His closest friend who knew him best. The woman he swore was the only one he'd ever marry. But today I discovered he'd only ever used me. I'd waited 10 years to marry him. Days spent chasing endorsements and opportunities, nights managing fans and publicity, cleaning up his DUIs and club scandals. Derek couldn't act. I coached him line by line. When he was sick, I was his stunt double, jumping from 3-story buildings. Derek always called me stupid, said managers shouldn't do these things. He'd cry like a broken puppy, worried about me. So he treated me even better. Made me tea during my period, never let me do housework when he was home. He even introduced me to his parents, saved up to buy me a car. Even when fame hit suddenly and he saw all that glamour, we stayed committed to each other. But now he was marrying someone else. At the arrival gate, several bodyguards surrounded a woman approaching me. Julia Morrison was attractive in that wealthy divorcee way, her eyes full of barely concealed triumph at meeting her rival. Sophia, laying the groundwork for Derek all these years. Must be exhausting. Though I'm the one benefiting now. Derek fell in love with the castle we're filming at. Insists on having some fairy tale wedding there. Don't feel obligated to send a gift, Sophia. After all, we should be thanking you with a big red envelope. I nearly snapped the car keys in half, barely stopping myself from slapping her. Let's go. Julia grabbed my arm, shoving a thick journal into my bag. This is our 7-year anniversary scrapbook Derek made. It's so heavy I can't carry it. Mind holding it for me? With that, she snatched my keys and drove off. I stood in the cold wind amid traffic, opening the journal with trembling fingers. 1 year ago, when I was caring for him after an explosion stunt went wrong, he wrote, Julia, if I can walk again, I'll marry you. 3 years ago, when his rival Ethan Cross supposedly attacked him and I spent everything on negative PR against Ethan, he wrote, this whole act, just to make you smile. Worth it. 5 years ago, when I was his stunt double and got covered in bruises, he wrote, Julia, I could never bear to see you hurt like this. My head spun, body shaking as I read their love notes and photos, barely able to breathe. Countless times I'd shamelessly proposed to Derek. He'd always press his forehead to mine, Sophia, just wait a bit longer. When I'm more established, have more influence, get more fans. Blessings, we'll go public, okay? Every time, his answer was that he hadn't climbed high enough. Deal. The notification popped up. The response was swift and decisive, leaving no room for regret. The transfer wasn't $1 but $1 million. Without hesitation, I accepted it, though I had to ask. That time I destroyed you with negative PR, did you really beat up Derek that night? His response was instant and indignant. I swear to God I'm innocent. Look, I hate Derek's guts, but every time I went after him, I wanted your attention. I always gave you a heads up. Why ask? That night you destroyed me so thoroughly I lost my underwear endorsements. Had to lay low for 3 months. What's this about? I laughed bitterly. Nothing. Derek had played me for so many years. I really was an idiot. But even idiots wake up eventually. Since he didn't want me, I'd leave with dignity. Chapter 2. After finalizing details with Ethan, I took a cab back but heard Derek and his assistant talking on the terrace. Turning the film set into a wedding venue. This is Louis XIV castle. Renting it must cost a fortune. Derek, you really spoil her. Just worried about Sophia. If she makes a scene to the media, we're all screwed. Derek's voice remained steady. Julia suffered for 7 years for me. Tomorrow's our wedding. No one's ruining it. As for Sophia Chen, I'll find a way to keep her quiet. But watch everyone on set. If any gossip blogs catch wind, send cease and desist letters immediately. Even though I decided to let go, being betrayed, deceived, and mocked by the man I thought loved me most. I felt like ice water had been poured over my head, cold seeping into my bones. Back in my room, I packed for the flight home. Apart from my passport and documents, my suitcase and room contained nothing but files. Contracts covered the floor with nowhere to step. I realized Derek had never given me anything. He only threw problems at me to solve. He couldn't even stand seeing me in dresses or with long hair, always mocking. Sophia Chen, you're such a tomboy. Why pretend to be feminine? You look ridiculous, honestly ugly. I used to think he was just brutally honest, and I'd joke back. Now I realized he meant every word. But why should I do everything his way? I dug out a purple dress from the bottom of my closet, put on heels, even did my makeup. Then went downstairs and threw all the contracts in the trash. Sophia Chen, you know who Derek really love. Julia's taunt came from behind. I turned. Her words died as she stared at my transformation, tongue-tied with shock. You. Recovering from her amazement, she seethed with anger. Dressed like a whore in the middle of the night? Derek thinks you're dirty, that's why he doesn't want you. Stop wasting your time, you slut. She lunged to tear off my dress. I caught her hand and slapped her hard. Julia clutched her face, screaming hysterically. Sophia Chen. You. Bitch. Derek won't let this go. I wiped my palm, rolling my eyes. Even if Derek were here, I'd still slap you. Slap. Another crisp slap rang out. But I didn't hit her. Julia slapped herself. I frowned instinctively, but she immediately dropped to her knees, tears streaming prettily. Sophia, Derek and I are truly in love. You've hit me, yelled at me, I won't tell him. Please just let me go. Sophia Chen, Julia is my woman. How dare you bully her? Derek's furious roar came as he kicked me hard in the stomach, sending me crashing to the ground. Pain shot through my abdomen. Sharp stones cut into my elbow, pain piercing to the bone. But my heart had already fallen into an bottomless abyss. Such an obvious manipulation tactic, yet he punished me without question. So what exactly was I to him? A robot he could order around without feelings? Derek pulled Julia into his arms, looking at me coldly. But then he froze, stunned. Until Julia pinched his arm, snapping him back. Anger flashed in his eyes. Sophia Chen. Why aren't you working? What's with this slutty outfit? It's hideous, take that dress off immediately. Julia buried her face in his shoulder, sobbing. Derek, Sophia said I seduced you, called me a whore, and threatened to send me away on a plane. But tomorrow. She trailed off meaningfully. But I knew she meant tomorrow was their wedding. I smiled bitterly. They were already acting like a real couple. Why hide it? Did they think I was too stupid to notice anything? Derek soothed her gently, but looked at me with disgust. Sophia Chen. How can you be so vicious? Using your position to abuse others? Apologize to Julia now. I laughed self-mockingly, tears pricking my eyes. So you're protecting her? Who is she to you? I really wanted to know how he'd explain this. Would he deflect, lie, or just come clean? But I guessed wrong. Derek's voice was low but brooking no argument. That's none of your business. Sophia Chen, managing my image is your job as my manager. Understand? How ridiculous. I didn't even have the right to know. He couldn't marry. Not because he hadn't climbed high enough, but because he didn't want me as the bride. When it came to marrying Julia, money, power, status, suddenly none of it mattered. In that instant, my last shred of hope for him died. My abdomen cramped painfully. I bit my lip hard, fighting the pain and anger until I tasted blood. Get lost. But Julia persisted. Derek, but Sophia hasn't apologized to me yet. Tears flooded down her face, shoulders trembling as if she'd suffered the world's greatest injustice. Derek's heart ached even more. He commanded. Sophia Chen, apologize to Julia. Otherwise. The slap cut off his words. Derek's face turned to the side from the impact. Derek, we're done. My tear-filled eyes were full of mockery, but I refused to let them fall. I thought hearing me say we were over would at least shock him, leave him flustered. But Derek just worked his jaw and glanced at me indifferently. Sophia Chen, if you're done with your tantrum, stop being dramatic. I'll let it slide today, but I won't tolerate this again. I don't need your tolerance. I clenched my fists tight, spat out those words, and forced myself to walk quickly back to my room despite the pain. The door slammed shut. I collapsed against it, sliding down like melted wax. My phone rang. It was Ethan Cross. Chapter 3. Taking a deep breath, I answered. Ethan's magnetic voice made my ears suddenly burn. Don't stress yourself during your period. Someone will leave painkillers at your door. Take them before bed. How did he know I was on my period? I narrowed my eyes instantly. Are you stalking me? He exploded on the other end. I'm not a creep. The entire castle and your villa are my property. I let the production use them for free. Don't overthink it. For free? Remembering Derek saying he'd rented the castle and the $3 million he'd taken from my account, my heart turned colder. I mumbled acknowledgement and hung up, bringing in the tray from outside. Painkillers and brown sugar tea. Sipping the tea, I couldn't help but think I'd found the right ally. At least he was loaded. After taking the medicine and lying down, Derek showed up with a food container. His voice was hoarse and broken. Calculated the date studies your period. No, you get cramps, so I made you brown sugar porridge. Please drink some, Sophia. His suit was disheveled, hair damp with sweat, chest heaving like he'd run here just for me. My cramps were severe. A consequence from years ago, doing his water stunts in winter, spending 8 hours in a frozen lake, getting frostbite. The cramps were agonizing cold sweats, rolling in bed level bad. Back. Then, Derek even learned acupressure massage to rub my stomach and ease the pain. He'd been so attentive. I always believed in love, never doubted sincerity. But his sincerity changed in an instant. At some point, our home became my prison of solitude. Later, countless times I'd pass out at his feet from cramps, and he couldn't even bother calling 911. Since he'd discarded me like trash, why pretend to care now? Derek carefully lifted me up, his large hand massaging my abdomen. Sophia, I lost my head earlier. Still hurting? Julia Morrison is an obsessed fan. She saved me once and now clings to me demanding marriage. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to worry. Don't worry. After tomorrow, I'll send her back home immediately. Please don't be angry, okay? He opened the container and pulled out the porridge. But I looked at him with hollow eyes, staring at the wedding ring on his finger. Then, marry me tomorrow instead. Can you? His hand shook, nearly dropping the bowl, but without any hesitation, he met my eyes sincerely. Yes. We'll get married tomorrow. Sophia, I'll only marry you in this lifetime. He blew on the spoon and fed me the porridge tenderly, the picture of devotion. But I tasted it peanuts. I'm deathly allergic to peanuts. The brown sugar's cloying sweetness burned my throat but couldn't mask the bitterness in my heart. So he was still lying to me. Others gave carrots after sticks. He just gave more sticks. I couldn't spit it out. My heart was dead. Under his burning gaze, my head grew dizzy, body feverish, like being strangled, unable to breathe. I stiffened, glaring at Derek, clutching at him desperately. Help, hospital, take me. Before losing consciousness, the last thing I saw was Derek's panicked face. I don't know how long passed. In my haze, I heard Julia's voice mixed with a man's. Opening my eyes slightly, seeing them together, my blood turned to ice. Chapter 4. The next second, meeting Julia's gloating eyes, my mind went blank. She seemed to be asking for my benefit. Derek, should we not take Sophia to the hospital? Derek said dismissively. Why bother with her? Let's finish first, then take her. She won't die anyway. I closed my eyes in pain, not wanting to watch anymore. But they only got worse. Despite 10 years together, Derek had never touched me. He only ordered me around. Sophia, take this scene for me. Sophia, Ethan's causing trouble again. Come bail me out. And I always willingly obeyed his every demand, even if it bankrupted me. Rage flared up, my spirit snapped, and I passed out again from the pain. When I woke, I was in a hospital bed. My phone was still in my pocket. I sent the termination agreement to the company VP. One line, get Derek a new manager. As expected, the executives called immediately. VP Samuel's voice was shocked. Sophia, you're a freelance manager. The company can't restrict you. But isn't Derek your boyfriend? Without you, he's finished. You really want to abandon him? Samuel was my mentor. He knew about Derek and me, knew how much I'd sacrificed for Derek's Oscar dreams. Fans praised Derek as talented and versatile, but his talent came from my PR, his stunts from me doubling. Without me, he really was nothing. But if sacrifice worked, why did Derek still cheat? He didn't love me. Everything I did was pointless. Sam, he cheated. I'm done. That silenced Samuel. Though he couldn't help adding. I'm not trying to get you back together, but considering Derek's earning potential, you really want to hand that to someone else? I pulled out my 4, saying flatly. Sam, sorry in advance. I can't do you this favor. I built him up. I'll tear him down myself. No one else gets to profit. Buying a plane ticket, I stumbled out of the hospital and back to the castle to pack. Today was wrap day, but the set was empty. Everyone had gone to Derek's wedding. Dragging my suitcase out, I finally felt the reality of leaving. This was really over between us. I was going back to join Ethan to destroy Derek. Would he regret it when his reputation was ruined? That was all I could vindicatively hope for. Passing the castle's main hall, countless pink balloons rose into the sky. Helicopters above mixed rose petals with snow, blanketing the entire castle. Derek stood on the second-floor luxury terrace, making his grand declaration to Julia. Julia, you once said if I loved you, I'd protect you from any hint of scandal touching your dress. I'm proud to say I did it. I love you, so I bore all your hardships and worries. For the rest of our lives, you'll be my only princess. Even our baby can't compete with you. For some reason, my eyes burned, almost laughing through tears. So he was going to be a father. But I'd damaged my body because of him and could never be a mother. Even his promise of no kids, just us, had become a joke. Well then, Derek, I hope you enjoy the show I prepared for you. Looking up, my eyes met Derek's across the distance. His heart stuttered. Sophia Chen? He should be happy at his wedding, but somehow the unease grew heavier, like something was spiraling out of control. Julia shyly pressed into his arms, consoling. Derek, you must be seeing things. Sophia is still unconscious at the hospital with her allergic reaction. How could she be here? Hearing this, Derek's doubts vanished. At most, he'd spend a few extra days with me at the hospital afterward. Not knowing I was already in a cab, getting farther away. Kiss. Kiss. The crowd below chanted. Derek smiled broadly, lifting Julia's veil for their defining kiss when his assistant suddenly ran up, panicked and sweating. Derek. Bad news. Sophia. Sophia's gone. He stammered, words unclear from running and panic. Derek only heard that Sophia was gone, not processing the rest. Because the assistant was so worked up, he tripped and face-planted. The romantic castle wedding erupted in laughter at his sprawl. Derek's face darkened instantly. Sophia, gone, the words suddenly became incomprehensible. Chapter 5. Derek froze. Before he could react, Julia reflexively protested. What nonsense. Sophia's unconscious from her allergic reaction. Weren't you supposed to watch her at the hospital? What are you doing here? Sophia's not at the hospital. She's gone. The assistant was a nervous wreck, stammering with his tongue tied, unable to form coherent sentences. Julia froze too. Derek's fists clenched tight. What did this mean? Was Sophia not at the hospital? Had she come back to cause trouble? Or left for work back home? Get up and say that again. Derek's voice was low and dangerous. The assistant on the ground was too scared to move, voice shaking with tears. Derek, you told me to watch Sophia at the hospital. I just went to pay at the pharmacy. When I came back with the medicine, she was gone. I checked surveillance. She pulled out her own phone and took a cab downstairs, heading back to the castle. I was afraid she'd found out about your secret wedding. I raced back to stop her, but her room was completely cleaned out. I think Sophia went back home. But that's not even important. What's more import? Derek cut him off dismissively. She went home. So what? Is that worth interrupting my wedding? Don't you have any sense? Get him out of here. Before the guests see this joke. Derek frowned, signaling the bodyguards to remove him. The assistant waved frantically, panicking like an ant on hot coals. No, that's not important. Well, it is important, but what I mean is the trending topics. At trending topics, Julia perked up, immediately interrupting. Trending? Oh, Derek, you're so sweet. You didn't need to announce it. I love you, not your celebrity status. I'm happy just marrying you. We can stay private. She thought Derek had announced their marriage, causing the trending explosion. She looked at him shyly. Derek paused. He had considered it, had instructed his assistant to leak his marriage to trusted media outlets. But he only wanted to boost his profile, create some buzz. He never intended to reveal Julia's identity. Thinking of the assistant's excitement, he wondered could just a hint of personal information really explode the internet and trend? Then Sophia must have gone home angry about him breaking his bachelor image. But it was fine. She'd handle the trending situation. Maybe this publicity would even help her land him more endorsements. Derek's mood lifted, though he maintained composure, pulling Julia close with sweet words. You're my wife, the love of my life. I want you beside me in the spotlight. How could I let you settle for a secret marriage? You don't want me struggling, and I don't want you hidden in shadows where even my fans don't know who you are. I love you, so I'll give you the best. Chapter 6. Watching them embrace, the guests below teased and cheered again. Kiss. Kiss. Derek and Julia gazed at each other lovingly before embracing in a kiss, treating each other as their life's light, romantic and shy. But the assistant stood awkwardly nearby, keeping Derek's career collapse secret, unable to speak up. As they kissed passionately, Derek's phone on the best man rang. Derek took it with a frown, irritated by all today's interruptions. He answered impatiently, Sam, what is it? Hearing Derek's still calm voice, Samuel paused. Just now, Sophia had compiled every shitty thing Derek had done since debut into a shared document. She'd leaked it all online through gossip accounts. Like when Derek first debuted, pissed that another actor was handsomer, he'd deliberately worn spiked rings during a fight scene, destroying the guy's face. During his rise, he'd killed someone drunk driving, then after paying off the family, twisted facts on his alt account, directing fans to cyberbully the victim's family. After becoming a top star, he'd sabotaged peers, stolen roles and endorsements, buying negative PR to destroy anyone he disliked. Even current hot star Ethan Cross had been forced to disappear for 3 months because of him. He'd even assaulted an underage fan, though his manager had stopped him in time. Now domestic Twitter trending was dominated by his scandals. His fan clubs were forcibly disbanded. Derek's reputation in America was destroyed, and he didn't even know. He'd heard Derek was using the production's free castle for his wedding. Samuel asked tentatively. You know about the trending topics? Derek laughed lightly, casual as ever. Sorry Sam, should have given the company a heads up. I just leaked some wedding news. Didn't expect it to trend. But don't worry. Sophia's already gone home to handle it. You can relax. When it's my business, Sophia always maximizes profits. There won't be any problems. This was rushed. When I'm back, I'll have a proper ceremony. You must come then. Samuel was speechless. Actually, with Sophia's self-destructive move, Samuel should have stopped her. Derek was the company's cash cow after all. You don't shoot yourself in the foot. But the Cross family's prince had ordered Derek blacklisted. Samuel had no choice but to comply. Though Sophia had asked him not to tell Derek about the domestic situation. But Samuel was still his boss and wanted to at least warn him. But seeing this, Derek was beyond saving. No point in saying anything. After all, the company had only valued Sophia's star-making ability. Countless more obedient pretty boys were waiting for Derek's spot. Without Sophia insisting on him, the company never would have bothered with this loser. Now that Sophia had dumped him, the company had no reason to keep this worthless waste. Samuel laughed awkwardly. All right, good luck with that. Derek sensed something off, frowning. Deeper. Sam, did you need to tell me something? Out of kindness, Samuel couldn't help suggesting. Check Twitter yourself. After hanging up, Samuel shook his head. Whatever. Derek was confused. His right eye kept twitching, sensing impending doom. He quickly opened Twitter, but barely got a glance. Before someone snatched his phone. Chapter 7. Looking up, Derek saw Julia puffed up with anger, glaring at him. The formal ceremony was done, but the bouquet hadn't been thrown yet. Because of Sophia's disappearance, trivial matters kept interrupting. Constantly disrupting her perfect dream wedding. Julia knew this was all Sophia's deliberate sabotage, trying to ruin her wedding. That bitch Sophia. She wouldn't let her. No one could ruin her wedding. The assistant saw Derek's phone taken and tried to hand over his own. But Julia snatched that too. The assistant looked anxiously at Derek but was silenced by a warning glare. Julia demanded coldly. Wife or phone? Choose, Mr. Oscar winner. Hands on hips, anger coloring her pretty face, Derek's heart clenched. Sweet words flowed instantly. Who's Mr. Oscar winner? Only an idiot would choose a phone. I'm Derek Lawson. My wife's so beautiful, of course I choose my wife. Get lost. You smooth talker. Julia dissolved into giggles, melting into Derek's arms. But a cold voice shattered the mood. Derek, you still have time for romance? Being blacklisted serves you right. Dylan Reed threw a microphone at Derek's head, roaring. He was the company's new manager assigned to replace Sophia. Not exactly top tier, but experienced enough. When upper management called Dylan to take over Derek, his scandals hadn't broken yet. Dylan thought he'd hit the jackpot. A chance to work. With an Oscar winner headed for even greater heights. But within 2 minutes, he'd inherited a disaster. Former Oscar winner, now street rat everyone wanted dead. And Dylan had to clean up this mess. He was furious, treating Derek as badly as possible. After all, Derek was getting blacklisted by the company. All that work for nothing. Dylan, how dare you speak to me like that? What blacklisting? Explain yourself. Derek's eyes darkened, barely suppressing his rage. Sophia Chen dumped you. From now on, I'm managing you. Though not for long, maybe a week before you're packing up to find a new career. After all, your ex-manager personally exposed your scandals. The evidence is so solid it's underground. All your shows are pulled, endorsements and contracts cancelled. Breach of contract fees are probably over $1 billion. You're a dead dog now. Even if you were an Oscar winner, even with a sugar mama, you'll never recover. Got it? Dylan's words poured out like beans from a bag. With each sentence, Derek's face grew paler. Struck by lightning, he stood frozen. Julia's eyes widened. The guests who understood English gasped in shock. Seeing Derek frozen in disbelief, practically catatonic, Dylan couldn't be bothered explaining. He threw his phone at him. See for yourself. Then come back home with me. Stop dreaming about being a star. Derek's mind buzzed. He didn't even know where he was. Julia lunged for the phone first, opening Twitter. The world crumbled beneath her feet as she collapsed. Chapter 8. She seemed to have a mental breakdown, frantically scrolling through expose posts, muttering. Wrong, wrong. This is all wrong. Why? Why aren't you an Oscar winner anymore? How can you not be? If you're not an Oscar winner, who's going to support me? Derek, you bastard. You wasted 7 years of my life. You didn't marry me to share your debts, did you? You animal. Derek's mouth bled from Julia's slap, the pain finally bringing him back. In that moment, he'd already sensed the truth from Julia's rage. He didn't need verification. He knew what he'd done better than anyone. He was just furious that while his world burned at home, he'd been kept in the dark like an idiot. He roared at his assistant. You knew all along? Why didn't you tell me? The assistant cowered, trembling weakly. I tried to tell you from the start, Derek. You didn't listen. I kept trying to say it, but you and Julia wouldn't hear it. She took my phone. It's really not my fault. Derek's chest seized, throat blocked, unable to speak. He gritted his teeth, rage spilling from his nostrils, glaring at Dylan. You're saying Sophia did this to me? Impossible. She must have gone home to clean up this mess. This can't be her doing. Besides, she's my girlfriend. She wouldn't abandon me and dump me on a loser like you. You're lying. Definitely lying. Sophia's crazy about me. She'd never leave me. He called Sophia with shaking hands but couldn't get through. After a dozen tries, he smashed the phone in rage. Sophia Chen, why would you destroy me like this? Why destroy him? I paused mid-bite of my chicken wing, looking at Ethan across from me, confused by his question. He wasted 10 years of my prime. I'm just collecting interest. How is that destroying him? What? He gets to enjoy everything I gave him without paying any price. Seeing my matter-of-fact answer, no trace of pain or longing in my eyes, Ethan knew it was time. Time to steal her for himself. So at an ordinary food truck, surrounded by the smoky smell of cumin, chili, and charcoal. Ethan's lips curved, his deep eyes gazing at me seductively. So what price do I need to pay to enjoy what you give? I licked sauce from my lips, answering casually. You helped me deal with Derek. I'm already your manager, aren't I? What else do you want me to do? Ethan poured beer into my glass, clinked it with mine, then boldly declared. I want you to be my wife. Pfft. I sprayed beer all over his face, choking and coughing violently. I pushed away his hand trying to help, shouting. That's a different price. No freebies. Ethan's eyes lit up instantly, pestering me. What do you want? I'll give you everything. House, car, stocks, bonds, even my birth certificate. Depends if you're worth developing. I rolled my eyes at him. Since that day, Ethan seemed to have claimed the boyfriend position. He practically wanted to wear a sign saying, Sophia Chen's boyfriend in training for every dog on the street to see. The next time I heard about Derek was 3 months later. Ethan told me he'd been blacklisted from all of Hollywood, with debt collectors hounding him daily. Julia hadn't wanted to suffer with him. She'd taken all his assets and fled. Derek had no choice but to become a gigolo for rich women. But after being used, they wouldn't pay. The crushing debt broke his mind. He drank himself into madness. Finally, last night, he jumped from a building. I only felt it was karma. Pitiful people often brought it on themselves. You reap what you sow. Everything settled into dust. For the past 10 years, I'd lived for others. From now on, I'd live for myself. Embracing a brand new life.